For 2026, FIFA has done something audacious. It has become the scalper. FIFA has launched its own official resale platform, replacing the Ticketmasters and StubHubs that once ruled the secondary market. On this platform, FIFA collects a 30% commission on every resale transaction, 15% from the seller, 15% from the buyer. This is called double dipping. FIFA's development funds are partly a political currency. Votes are being purchased with football money, and the football money comes from music, fans. Let me begin with a question, not a rhetorical one, a genuine one. How much would you pay right now, today, to watch the most important football match of your lifetime? Think carefully. Not how much you think a ticket should cost. How much would you actually pay? $500? $1,000? More? Now, hold that number in your mind, because someone has been paying very close attention to it. The numbers. The 2026 FIFA World Cup, hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, is the most expensive World Cup in history. A seat at the semi-final in Dallas, $11,000. A ticket to the final on the official resale platform, listed at $11.5 million. Not a typo. $11.5 million. And the cheapest ticket to the final, from the very first sales phase, costs double the median annual salary in Ghana or Haiti. So, I want to spend the next 20 minutes with you, not ranting, not merely reporting, but thinking. Why did this happen? Who decided it should happen? Where does all that money go? And what does it tell us about the world we live in? These are not questions about football. These are questions about power. Andy Milne. I want to introduce you to a man named Andy Milne. Andy is an English football fan. He's been to 9 World Cups. 9. Fans affectionately call him that World Cup guy because cameras kept finding him in the crowd at every tournament, in every corner of the world. He took early retirement in 2022 to attend the Qatar World Cup, and now, for the 2026 tournament in America, he has drawn on part of his pension, money he set aside for his future, because his full pension won't come through for a few more years. He still holds his original tickets. The first one, Spain, 1982. Cost, 800 pesetas. He queued for 3 days to get it. He says it was great fun. Other fans were outside. They played football, they laughed. He has tickets from Italy, France, Germany, South Africa, Brazil, Russia, Qatar. Each one a memory, each one an artifact of something that mattered. He saw Zidane's infamous headbutt in 2006. He was there for Messi versus Mbappe, that extraordinary 3-3 draw in the Qatar final. And England, despite all of this devotion, has never once won during Andy's 9 World Cups. Yeah, he says, that one really stings. I tell you about Andy because he is not unusual. Across the world, there are millions of people like him. People who don't watch football. They feel it. People for whom the World Cup is not an entertainment product, but a ritual. A once every 4 years pilgrimage. And FIFA has looked at these people, at their devotion, their loyalty, their willingness to sacrifice, and has decided this is an opportunity. What changed? Let's look at the numbers, not to overwhelm you, but to orient you. Qatar, 2022, one of the wealthiest nations on earth. The cheapest group stage tickets, $11 flat rate. USA, 1994. Sports economist Victor Matheson attended with Category 1 tickets, $50. About $111 in today's money. 2026, make $111 will not get you very far. The cheapest tickets for Loyalist fans start at $60 versus $11 in Qatar, and even those are nearly impossible to find. One national team was allocated just 4,000 tickets for a stadium holding 94,000 people. Let that ratio land. 4,000 tickets for one team in a stadium of 94,000. So, what changed? 3 things working together. 1, the American effect. America has a particular relationship with money and entertainment. The CEO of Live Nation, the world's largest concert promoter, once said, I'm paraphrasing, "It is a badge of honor to pay $70,000 for courtside seats at a Knicks game. This is not cynicism. This is ideology. In America, the free market is a kind of religion. The idea is simple. If someone is willing to pay it, the price is justified. Demand dictates price. Supply follows. The market is always right. FIFA looked at this environment and saw opportunity. As Victor Matheson explained plainly, FIFA has finally decided to capitalize on the fact that people are willing to pay an enormous amount for tickets. They're going to extract all the money they possibly can. Notice the word he uses, extract, not earn, not generate. Extract, as if fans are a mine and FIFA is the excavation machine. 2. Dynamic pricing. For the first time in World Cup history, FIFA has introduced what it diplomatically calls variable pricing, but which economists and consumers call dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing is a technology-enabled system where prices rise automatically as demand rises. You've seen it in airlines. You've seen it in ride-sharing apps. Now, it's in the World Cup. What this means, practically, you don't know what a ticket will cost until you've spent 6 hours in an online queue, only to discover the price has increased since you first looked. For one match, Uruguay versus Spain, prices increased by 126% between the October and April sales rounds, more than double in 6 months. FIFA also advised fans publicly to get tickets early because anything could happen. This from an organization that simultaneously makes it functionally impossible to plan early, because flights and hotels are also subject to dynamic pricing, and you cannot book those until you know you have a ticket, not in frustration, in genuine wonder at the logic. 3. FIFA becomes the scalper. This is perhaps the most remarkable development of all. For generations, secondary ticket markets, scalpers as they're commonly called, were seen as parasites on the sports ecosystem, entities that exploit fans by buying tickets cheaply and selling them expensively. For 2026, FIFA has done something audacious. It has become the scalper. FIFA launched its own official resale platform, replacing the Ticketmasters and StubHubs that previously dominated the secondary market. On this platform, FIFA collects a 30% commission on every resale transaction, 15% from the seller, 15% from the buyer. Double dipping. FIFA already made money when the ticket was first sold. Now it makes money again every time that ticket changes hands. One ticket on this platform was listed for $11.5 million. FIFA's president, Gianni Infantino, responded to that number, not with concern, but with a kind of gleeful showmanship. He said publicly, "If someone buys a final ticket for $2 million, I will personally bring them a hot dog and a Coke." The president of world football is joking about million-dollar tickets, while fans are taking from their pensions to attend. Where does the money go? FIFA estimates it will generate $13 billion in revenue from this World Cup, almost double what it made from the Qatar cycle. Remarkable, especially since FIFA is technically a non-profit organization. So, where does all this money go? FIFA says 87% goes back into the game. That sounds wonderful. Let's examine what that actually means. The majority goes toward running FIFA's own competitions, including, naturally, the Men's and Women's World Cups, which are the primary vehicles for generating FIFA's revenue. So, FIFA makes money from the World Cup and uses that money to run the World Cup. The machine feeds itself. The more interesting portion, $2.7 billion, what FIFA calls development funds. These are distributed to its 211 member associations, the national football bodies of every country from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe. For many of these associations, particularly in the developing world, this money genuinely matters. It pays for field renovations, equipment, women's football programs, youth development. In countries where governments cannot or will not fund sport, FIFA's development money can be transformative. Okay, maybe it's not all bad, but there is always a but. The political architecture. FIFA has 211 member associations. Each one gets exactly one vote. Whether you're Germany or Guam, whether you're England or Eritrea, one nation, one vote. This sounds democratic, but consider, those 211 members elect FIFA's president, and the majority of those 211 are smaller, less wealthy nations, nations for whom FIFA's development funds are significant. Gianni Infantino understood this arithmetic when he first ran for FIFA president in 2016. His campaign promise: he would increase development funding by $5 million per member association. He won. After his first re-election, he increased it to $6 million per association. After his second re-election, $8 million. Now he's running again, and promising another increase. The advocacy group Fair Square concluded in 2024 that this money is allocated not to develop football, but to encourage member associations' political support for the president. In other words, FIFA's development funds are partly a political currency. Votes are being purchased with football money, and the football money comes from fans, and this is not unprecedented. A decade ago, FIFA official Jack Warner was caught embezzling development funds, sparking a global scandal. In 2026, the same year as this World Cup, the Republic of the Congo's former association president received a life sentence for embezzling $1.1 million of FIFA funds. The Maldives' former association president was sentenced to 23 years for misusing COVID relief money. A Venezuelan official was banned for financial wrongdoing. FIFA claims its members submit independent audits, but FIFA does not make these audits public, and some call that suspicious, because it is suspicious. So, here is what we have: a non-profit organization that generates $13 billion, that distributes funds to 211 countries with little public accountability, whose president wins elections by promising those funds, and whose officials have repeatedly been convicted of stealing those funds. And this organization is telling Andy Milne that his ticket costs $11,000. The monopoly no one talks about. There's a word that describes FIFA's position in world football, and FIFA uses it themselves, without embarrassment: monopoly. There is one World Cup. FIFA owns it. There is nowhere else to go. No alternative, no competition, no second option for fans who want to experience the real thing. Victor Matheson articulates the economic logic clearly. FIFA is not trying to build lifelong fans. It is not trying to develop the sport. It is trying to extract maximum value from an event that occurs every 4 years. You can afford to fleece your fans, knowing you don't need them back next week. You only need them back in 4 years. This is the logic of the monopolist, not the merchant. The monopolist has no incentive to be reasonable because there is no alternative. You want the World Cup? Pay or don't. Someone else will. And FIFA made a very deliberate choice about where to hold this tournament. Not just geographically, America, Canada, Mexico, but ideologically. America has almost no consumer protections around ticket pricing. Reselling tickets above face value is completely legal. Dynamic pricing is unregulated. FIFA chose America not only because of its markets and stadiums, but because of what it would be permitted to do there. Resistance, regulation, and small victories. But not everyone has simply accepted this. In May 2026, the Attorneys General of New York and New Jersey launched a formal investigation into FIFA's sales practices, accusing the organization of manipulating fans into paying sky-high prices. They proposed 3 remedies: end dynamic pricing, cap resale prices, and set aside 15% of tickets for local residents at a discount. New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani made ticket pricing part of his campaign and secured 1,000 tickets priced at $50 each via lottery for New York residents. Let that number sink in. 1,000 tickets for a city of 8 million people. In Europe, the advocacy group Euroconsumers filed a formal complaint to the European Commission, identifying 6 separate FIFA pricing abuses. Policy officer Olivia Brown made the counter-argument to FIFA's defense of dynamic pricing. Yes, scalpers are a real problem, but strong resale legislation makes that argument obsolete. In many European countries, reselling tickets above face value is already illegal. The UK is actively discussing criminalizing the practice ahead of Euro 2028. And in Ontario, Canada, something remarkable happened. A bill passed in April 2026, making it illegal for tickets to be resold above face value. FIFA immediately began removing Toronto's resale listings to comply. They had to be relisted at original purchase prices. So, legislation works, regulation works. The market does not self-correct, but law can correct it. FIFA's own response to all of this was illuminating. An official statement read, The applicable resale facilitation fees are aligned with industry standards across North American sports and entertainment sectors. Translation: we are behaving exactly as other American entertainment corporations behave, and we are operating within the law as it exists here, which is true, and which is precisely the problem. Why this matters: the philosophy of joy. Let me slow down now, because I want to ask a question that doesn't have an economic answer. Why does any of this matter? The World Cup is not food, it's not shelter, it's not healthcare. It is, in the most reductive sense, entertainment, a sporting competition, people running after a ball. If you can't afford a $2,000 ticket, can't you just watch on television? Aren't there bigger problems in the world? I want to push back on that framing, hard. Olivia Brown from Euroconsumers put it beautifully. We are living through multiple crises simultaneously: financial pressure, inflation, affordability. And through all of it, the research consistently shows that people are struggling to make ends meet. They are stressed, they are anxious. And on top of that, we want to start denying people the things that give them that little bit of extra joy in life that is so incredibly harmful. There's a concept I find compelling: the commons. Certain things belong to everyone: public parks, clean air, public libraries. The idea is that there are forms of human flourishing that should not be privatized, because they are part of what makes a society, rather than just an economy, function. Football at its origin is a commons. You need nothing to play it, just a ball, some ground, and other human beings. It emerged from working-class communities as an expression of collective energy. Its greatest stars, Messi, Pelé, Ronaldo, grew up poor. The sport's power comes precisely from the fact that it belongs to everyone. And football legend Didier Drogba, one of the game's icons, said something very simple about this. When you think about soccer, all you need is a ball. You can't price out the people who live it. Football is for the fans. FIFA is pricing out the people who live it. Scotland hasn't qualified for a World Cup in 28 years. 28 years. For a Scottish fan, this is not entertainment. This is a once-in-a-generation experience. The Scottish national coach said publicly, "My biggest wish is that people don't put themselves into too much debt trying to get there. If you can't afford to go, understand it. Don't put yourself and your family into debt." The coach of a national team is telling his own fans, "Please don't go into debt for us. That is the state of things." A small comfort. History offers a small comfort. The last time the United States hosted the World Cup, in 1994, prices were also dramatically higher than preceding tournaments. And then, the 1998 World Cup in France brought prices back down. The 2030 World Cup is expected to return largely to Europe, and there are already strong indications that prices will fall. It is as if FIFA knew, and perhaps calculated, that 2026 in America was a unique window, an opportunity that would not repeat, and so they extracted everything they could. For the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, the next massive American sporting event, warning signs are already appearing. The Olympic Committee said, "No dynamic pricing for now," but the cheapest $28 tickets sold out immediately. And there is a 24% service fee, compared to 1.5% at the Paris Olympics. The pattern repeats. But the Ontario law is real. The Attorney General investigations are real. The Euroconsumers complaint is real. And the broader political conversation about ticket pricing, which barely existed 5 years ago, is now front-page news. Change is slow. It is usually too slow, but it is not impossible. What this story is really about. Let me bring us back to the beginning. I asked you how much you'd pay for the greatest football match of your life. Whatever number you had in mind, that number is data, and FIFA is collecting it from millions of people around the world, and it is using that data not to serve you, but to extract from you. This story is not really about football. Football is just the lens. This story is about what happens when a monopoly meets an unregulated market. It is about what happens when a non-profit organization accumulates enough power to behave like a global corporation, without the accountability of one. It is about what happens when we commodify the things that matter most to people. And it is about a deeper question that I want to leave you with. What do we believe cannot be sold? Every generation has to answer this question for itself. and the answer changes. Things that once seemed sacred become products. Things that once seemed luxuries become rights. Right now, the 2026 World Cup is teaching us something uncomfortable. It is telling us that in the absence of regulation, in the presence of monopoly, and in the culture of American-style capitalism, even the things people love most can become instruments of extraction. Andy Milne will be in the stadium this summer. He'll be watching his tickets. He'll be watching England. He'll be hoping, as he has hoped for 9 World Cups, that this time will be different. And when the drums of the Senegalese fans fill the stadium, when the Moroccans wave their red flags, when the Dutch arrive in their orange carnival, the atmosphere will, as Andy says, be pulsating. Or, as he worries, if the stands are filled with billionaires instead of believers, it might just be dead. Thank you.